Hey, welcome, Helen. Welcome, Dmitry, to Gocast. How are you?
Awesome.
Perfect.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. It's great to have a first podcast with two guests. It's really awesome. If you don't mind, just starting by introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, where you come from. Then we can dig deeper in cyber.
I'll start. So my name is Helen Oakley, and I'm located in Toronto, Canada. So I come in cybersecurity for some years ago. I currently work for SAP as a senior director in software security and AI security. And I contribute into various open source communities and standards and initiatives that help industry to evolve in cybersecurity. Really enjoy the field. I'm really passionate about my topic here.
Great. Thank you, Dmitry.
So I'm Dmitry Raidman. I'm in the cybersecurity space already 25 years. Have done many things in many places, in many companies, and under many conditions. And I'm also a co-founder and the CTO of a company called Cybeats. The company provides a solution for software supply chain security. If I have a free time, when I have it, I also contribute to different things, some of them together with Helen and some of them that I've started doing very early on in 2018 and worked on some standard that became today topics in the cybersecurity world and supply chain.
Well, you both have a super huge amount of experience and you've been in cyber for so long. I'd like to bring us back a little bit, maybe 20 years ago, and ask you what was the big thing like 20 years, and then eventually compare that with today, because there's so much buzzword, there's so much things that we're talking about right now.
So if we take about 20 years ago, or maybe a bit more, the big thing wasn't cybersecurity at all. And in fact, it wasn't very popular thought to include cybersecurity everywhere. To me, and I come from software development background. I started as software engineering on QA engineering and so on. And we focused on usability. And that was a big thing coming from different web applications and so on. Usability was huge. And I find that security and usability actually have to go hand in hand, because without usability in security features, user will always find workarounds how to make their life easier and not to do security because that always perceived as a blocker. So for me, it's important that this adoption is being also thought of as we implementing security features. And how I got into cyber is through curiosity, because we started to work on some partnerships in a company I was working for. And as part of these partnerships, we had also security aspects. This is how I got involved into security topic, application security, particularly doing some pen test, threat modeling, security architecture, and so on.
20 years. You're asking, okay, it's 2005. What was the security back then? Well, there was no such thing, right? I mean, like network security, like people had firewalls and they managed rules and opened IP addresses that were allowed to access inside your network and outside the network. We didn't have like SSL back then. Right.
True.
I mean, there was no encryption. Everything was open wide. And another part of security was, like managing the Active Directory and the users and their passwords and to reset them. It was an interesting world back then, right? Everything was open basically for any script kiddie to run SQL injection and shut down the SQL server and what's not. It was really fun times back then. Who knew about vulnerabilities at all, right? I mean, it was something that so distant, so complex. That's how it looked like back then. But today we're definitely a different world. I mean, it's changed so much, so many new things, so much automation, so many smart solutions. We have like WAFs, we have identity management systems, we have customer identity management systems, we have MFA, we have encryption everywhere. Like show me any website today that respects themselves doesn't have encryption. Funny thing, there are still few, but I think that so many things have changed, right?
There was a couple of tools and things in the time. You mentioned firewalls and AD and I guess NDS at the time with Novel and other stuff for the older people, I'd say. Do you feel like it was more secure back then or more secure today? We have more tools. It's more sophisticated. Is there a sense or feeling of being more secure?
Well, I can start with that, but in my opinion, absolutely. I think that back in the time, we were living in basically houses without windows and doors. We just were not aware because that's how it was, right? I mean, hey, like we just didn't have that type of controls. We didn't have any type of controls almost. Like PCI just started emerging back then, right? And there was just no frameworks, nothing, kind of almost nothing to follow. And today we do have frameworks. If you want to invest, if you want to be secure, at least you have these blueprints, these wireframes that you can follow, and the importance of the security and what you deliver to your customers. You can ramp up different areas of your security posture, let's say, because have the firewalls, the WAFs, the cloud, you have the EDR systems, you have the DLP systems, you have the SASE, and many other things very new, very emerging today, like asset management, vulnerability management, scanning of binaries, and producing software bill of materials, which is a very topic that's very close to us. You have today frameworks that you can follow, and you have today the tools. You just need to have the budgets
Yeah,
to invest in
agree.
it.
I want to add because I agree with Dmitry, but also I think to a certain extent you can also think that before was more secure because today we have broader attack surface. We have much more endpoints and so on. We're so digitalized. We absolutely have to have access, asset management and security controls around. In the past, there were some systems online. But a lot of activities were also offline, yeah, or behind the walls. From that perspective, you may say to a certain extent, personal data was sort of secure because it wasn't online. But right now, we do have a lot of tools, but we still have a lot of flaws and security concerns that we see even with all those tools. Like Dmitry said, if you invest, but if you don't, then you don't have all that security. And then who's the victim at the end? Typically humans.
Well, I think that also many things evolved, right? In the same way how the security solution evolved, also the adversaries techniques evolved. And it also involving a lot of automation, a lot of AI. If you compare the phishing email that you were receiving like 2 years ago to the phishing emails that you're receiving today, oh my God.
You're absolutely right. I mean, contextify attacked is way more present than it was in the past. You know, it was very generic. I'm in Quebec City and, you know, we speak French mostly. So when we get email in English, you know, that must be something because we don't have so much of that interaction. And then the other thing is a lot of grammar error. Now with the AI, it's completely flawless. It's quite something. You're absolutely right. You mentioned you were working on open source and project. What's your involvement in that community?
There are a few things that we are involved, specifically with Dmitry together. So there is an SBOM community. It's global. Toronto community is great. There are a lot of experts and it's growing significantly. And we maybe can touch a little bit on that. But open source, we working for the global community. So evolving standards on SBOM software bill of materials. And now specifically, we're working on advancing the AI software bill of materials or SBOM for AI, where we're defining with the community the use cases, how to use these formats in CycleDX, SPDX. What are the risk management of AI that we need to address? And also, we actually released the open source tool for generation of AI SBOMs, and it's
The first.
continuous improvement. The first ever, yes,
Wow.
open source
Congrats.
tool for models hosted on Hugging Face. Hugging Face is one of the primary platforms for hosting models. Of course, there are others, but this is a great start because it does already cover a huge portion of the risk that we currently have. It's very well perceived by the community. I'm so happy to see now how people involved in providing feedback to this tool. I see that they're trying to use, like they're opening maybe issues or suggesting improvements. I'm really happy to work with the community. That's what's driven me so far and continues to drive is to improve our securities overall and not wait for some regulatory requirements coming up and just release what's useful today.
Well, that's great. You're doing way more than supporting the community. You're being proactive and drive it forward. How about you, Dmitry?
There's a lot of work that we're doing together with Helen in this space of SBOMs for AI and basically enabling all that with traceability. And we keep saying SBOM, SBOM, right? What does it mean? A very simple concept that we're all familiar with today. When we're going to the store, right, and we buying some product, let's say it's a pasta, and we look at behind it, there is like the nutrition facts, right? And the nutrition facts saying, hey, there's a wheat, there's oil, salt, sugar, etc. Right? So there's the ingredients of that thing that we're buying. And honestly, like if I'm allergic to something, I'm not gonna buy the product that has this allergic component for me. It's funny, but it didn't exist for software until 2018. It sounds like so basic concept, so simple. Like why wouldn't we have that for software? But yeah, that was the case. And I have joined at the end of 2018 to some working group that was run by Alan Friedman and NTIA, which is a US government entity, to actually define what is this SBOM, what is this software bill of materials, like how this label of the product will look like that will include all of the ingredients and what kind of use cases, how can it help to our industry, especially one of the most important cases were cybersecurity, right? Because if we know the ingredients of that thing, we actually can analyze them and then we can protect them, mitigate. This working group was working for a couple of years until we have published this SBOM guidelines of what it is and what are the minimal elements of SBOM. But from that point on, it's not anymore, hey, I'm selling you a black box in form of software or a device, a smart device. I'm also giving you the ingredient list. Now you can take this ingredient list, you can do something with it, and you're basically taking your own fate in your own hands. You can defend yourself if
Yeah.
there is a risk that you don't want to
That's
accept.
very clever. Do you have a sort of certification or something that, I mean, you're yourself announcing that you will provide such a list, or how does it work?
So basically, it's not about announcing anymore. It went to most of the regulation, most of the strict regulation across the planet. So if you look at the EU's Cyber Resilience Act, it demanding these SBOMs to be produced for any software that is not cloud that you build and release. And it doesn't matter if your software just built out of open source. You're combining multiple open source and you're selling them to someone under your brand. Hey, like you're liable for that. You need to release this. If you're building a medical device and you will try to submit your FD device for pre-market approval so you can start sell it to customers, clear, strict requirements. Hey, you need to provide this software bill of materials, the ingredient list, and many others are jumping, of course, on this tsunami, I would say, of SBOMs. Like DoD in US, they saying they will not buy any product if the vendor is not providing them SBOM. Same thing happening in India, in Japan, in Korea. Like it goes across the world basically. That thing that small group of people worked on in 2018 became like de facto one of the kind of standards across the world to share this information.
That's super exciting. I want to just go back to you, Ellen. You're contributing to Sector in Toronto. Is it for you the place where you can learn and go further in your knowledge in cyber? What's your thought around that?
Definitely, yes. Sector is now also part of Black Hat. So for me, major events and pretty much any event are great for meeting people, for learning new topics. So I try to attend as much as I can inside Canada or globally. US also has a lot of events. But also I really enjoy local events like meetups. We have monthly meetups across different groups like DEF CON, OWASP, Leading Cyber Ladies, Task. Those groups of people, and it's growing, discussing all the new topics, sharing the knowledge, and you can really learn something every time you go there. So Dmitry and I, we time to time also come out and present something. I lead some of those events as well. And I really enjoy meeting all the people who are coming there and bringing more talent into this field as well.
Yeah, big fan of Sector and Task you mentioned as well. Same thing, great event. One last question for both of you. I'll start with you, Dmitry. If you could go back in time 20 years from now, what kind of advice would you give yourself for your cybersecurity career?
Wow, that's a good question. One of the advices that I will give to myself is really to go out of my comfort zone. And frankly saying, it kind of goes to my story. Before I started the company and co-founded it, I was very shy and techie guy, and I didn't like to go and speak, and I wouldn't go to such podcasts even. And I think that, going through raising money, being CEO of the company, and leading so many things, I think I learned a lot. And I think if I would be doing it earlier, that would benefit a lot my career, getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Ellen?
I would give myself an advice when I started my cyber career is to visit more events and meet more people, because I was really learning it in kind of silo for many years. And only later I realized how important the community is. So I really put my heart into it and try to keep up with the community and make sure I spend some time meeting people and also giving back to the community. So that's what I would give myself: get out there and meet people, build connections, and learn from each other.
Well, that's two great advice from you. Thank you very much to give some time to the podcast and to help people to build that community. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.